Check the mic, check the mic. Yes, it works. All right. Okay, so you can see that, but that's not what I want to show. Okay, so this is for Miss Yoon. And you can't see me just yet. I'm off screen. I'll move in front of the screen in a minute. Wrestling with Zoom today on a strange computer, and looks like they updated their interface. So anyway, today is a makeup for Saturday, April 16, where we were supposed to write our case. If I get in the light or I get out of the light's better for me. Yeah, you guys, you can look at that monitor if you want. So instead of me talking a lot about cases, I wanted to give you the experience of trying to write a case and then trying to explain a case on ethics. Describe a problem where someone in the public service, government, NGO, education, or church administration, and I'll be interested to hear which scenario you chose, must make a decision that is an ethical crisis. Describe the problem with enough detail so we understand why it is an ethical crisis, what formal rules are involved, what informal rules are involved. Make your case not more than 1 page. Share with your classmates and me no later than a certain date so that other people could read it and be ready to discuss it. Each student will quickly present their case 4 minutes and answer questions concerning their case. The sample case is attached. Do not use my case. There we go. Actually, I don't need to. I'll just open it. That's not it. Sorry. What am I doing? I just don't. I just don't have a brain today. I'm sorry. I know how to do this. I just don't have a brain to. I was absolutely brain dead Saturday and Sunday. I never got off the floor. I mean, I sleep on the floor, except to move to the bathroom or to move to a sofa, which is a little more comfortable than sleeping on a thin mattress, which is how we sleep. I just never got up. All right. So I don't remember exactly where I got this. I took it out of one of the many case books that I have. And I simplified it because I didn't want it to be a massive, 5-page case. But anyway, so you work in the Department of Environment for your local government. You're a team leader, and your department is responsible for monitoring the use of harmful chemicals. Okay, very, very common role in almost every city around the world. The chemicals might be more on the industrial side, or it might be more in terms of what farmers are using. In the countryside, it'd be more like with farmers. So Linda's on your team, and that's good. Her specialty is insecticide. Sounds very agriculture. Oh, background. The first time I taught this case was in Dalsunggun, which is quite rural, and they have a big agricultural department. And in the agriculture department, they have an environmental safety section. And so insecticides, it clicked for them. They understood it perfectly. Linda's on your team. Her specialty is insecticides that might be used in local small farms. She's been assigned to do some investigation on a particular product. Let's say that it's something that is relatively new that's being trialed in your area. And it doesn't mean she has to do the biology, but it means she has to go find out what other studies have been done, talk to the company, find out what are the kinds of risks. Doesn't mean we'll say no, but we might try to give guidance to the local farmers, how much to use or not use, or don't use it certain seasons. At a party, Linda met a man named George. After several dates, she has become quite fond of him. Then she learned that he is a marketing officer for the insecticide company. What a convenient. Now that might have been total, random happening. But a lot of these companies spend a lot of time with developing their, let's call it spy team, or, counterintelligence teams. So who knows? All right. So far, there's no problem until we discover that she's dating the guy she's supposed to be investigating, which might be a problem. I mean, he may be able to keep work and business separate, and she might too. But a lot of people can't. All right. Linda realized that their roles could create a conflict of interest professionally. So she told you about the relationship because I'm team leader. She's my team. She did the right thing. She told me, boss, there might be a problem. Linda said she could keep the personal relationship and the professional roles separate. She insisted that her feelings for George would never affect her professional judgment. Let me do my job, she said. Now, not very many people can do that. It sounds like I'm bragging. Maybe it is a little bit, but I'm one of the few people I know that can mostly do that. And it makes other people really upset that I could, for example, criticize them in a public meeting for some decisions they're making or some recommendations they're making. And then immediately afterwards, laugh and joke with them and offer to buy them a beer because we're friends. It's like, why did you treat me like that during the meeting? I said, because that's work. That's nothing to do with our friendship. But, because they can't they have a hard time separating a personal attack from a professional attack. Like, that's not how we should do it. You don't like me anymore. Nonsense. It's got nothing to do with it. But over, when I was 20s and early 30s, I just thought I was better at this than other people. But over the last 15 years or so, I've realized that many people they can't make the difference. And they just assume that I'm an asshole, And no, I like you. But work is work and pleasure is pleasure. Many people never really realize this, the challenge of keeping personal and professional separate, because it's a theoretical thing for them. It's like, oh yeah, I could do that. Until you call them on it and say, look, you don't like me. No. Saturday is let's go out and play football and drink beer. That's fine. This is Friday and we're working and you screwed up and you cost us a lot of money. Okay, so she says, let me do my job. I can handle it. But now I'm the team leader. What are the formal, the legal, and the informal, let's say organizational culture, organizational behavior, rules at issue in this case? How would you handle the situation as a team leader? Yeah, here it is, modified from. I didn't ask you to prep this one. So I just off the cuff, quick and dirty, fast response. If you're the team leader, what would you tell Linda? Options include, I got to assign somebody else. Go ahead. You'd move her to a different team, which means somebody else has to do the insecticide. So you're going to take her off the case. Okay. So you should prevent the conflict from possibly happening because it hasn't happened yet. Okay, that is the extreme version, the hard version. What if Linda's definitely the best person to do this? You don't have any other insecticide expert. You'd have to bring in somebody who is let's say a fertilizer expert, which is kind of related. That's just you don't have to answer it, right? We're just doing this one really quick. Wakas, any thoughts on this? The extreme version is take her off the case.
This is the right choice to do because
Which take her off?
yes, to assign someone else on this investigation, because if the relations goes far with the judge. So like, she gonna directly affect them because it's better to take her off from this assignment. It gonna be, could stake the Linda's credibility as well. So as a team leader, you should take care of your team members as well, their credibility as well.
Okay, so as a team leader, you're going to take her off. That's easy. I mean, both of you guys came up with ultimately with the same answer. The question before that is, what are the formal and the informal rules at issue? Informal could be unwritten but working understandings. What are some of the things we should have in our mind when we take her off? You said conflict of interest. According to who? She says it's not a conflict. It might be. Now, if you're talking about the NAPA, NASPA code of ethics, which we looked at in class, it doesn't talk about dating an outside employee. What does it talk about? There is something there. Yeah.
And there's personal relationships with other family or like that shouldn't affect.
Right, but you're allowed to get married. Yeah. So at what? Where's the line? We'll agree that this relationship is dangerous. But she's not married. It's not a family relationship. They're dating. They could break at any time. Are you telling her it's either you get this case or you break up with George? Is that ethical for a company to control somebody's personal life? Okay, but as soon as you do that, she goes to HR, and if HR doesn't give her the answer she wants, she goes to court. Because the company can't control your personal life. So the company can't control your personal life. All the company can do is control your work life by taking you off this case and giving you something else. Yeah, it's easy to take her off the case, but if she's your best resource and if she doesn't do it, it won't be done as well, for sure. We might even be risking people's health because we didn't do a good case. We didn't do a good study. But what are the other, okay, we may have formal rules about dating, contractors and consultants and, business partners. We could have that rule. But the city is not buying this insecticide. The city is probably considering whether we will allow it, but it's hard for a city to disallow something. That's usually a national level, or more like encourage it, maybe subsidize it. Local farmers, if you want to buy this product, we will pay half or something, or even we'll buy a whole bunch of it and give it to farmers for free because this insecticide will prevent the problem from going to neighboring farms, something like that, right? The city could be a customer or it could be a recommender. But what are some other questions? Okay, we got formal rules. Informal is really dangerous. Not that it don't happen, it's really dangerous. What else? Will she be blind? Will she not see it? How do I, as her supervisor, know when she's been blinded? I mean, she's a technician, right? She's a specialist in her field. She knows more than I do. She gives me a final report that I read and try to figure out if it's good, but there's so many layers beneath that that I would not see. So that's the concern. Okay, another possible, did I hear something?
If she sees the future with Mr. George and she wants to make his life better, so in return, if this relation goes along, so in return, her life would be better. So unintentionally, or Mr. George can influence her to get the insecticides from his company on subsidizer. So many things.
Right.
So he can influence, or if he will not influence, she could see the, like, if I give him some benefits, or if I get along with him in future, this would make my life better, his life better. So somehow she could get influenced.
Okay.
Intentionally or unintentionally.
How do we make a rule for that? Do we have a rule? Do we have a formal rule or an informal rule? I can tell you, I lost technically my third job in Korea. I lost it because I got married. Because she worked at the school that I was working at, and they said, okay, you got to move along. Husband and wife can't work together. And that was actually not the law. And because I was a contract professor and she was a permanent public servant staffer, there was no possible conflict. I mean, we worked in the same building, but we would never work in the same department or same office because our classes of work were so different. But somebody who was not very happy with me wanted me gone, and they used that argument. And that person happened to be my direct supervisor. So it was good for me to leave. I could have fought it. There were a whole lot of senior professors who would have fought for me, and they weren't happy I was leaving. But I said, look, do I really want to stay and work for somebody who doesn't want me there? Right. And so when I decided to start looking for other jobs, I found jobs that pay much better and have a career track as opposed to being a year-by-year contract instructor of English. It was a no-brainer once I decided that I should leave, but it wasn't very nice to be kind of pushed out that way. But they used this kind of rule, which technically under the law exists. Husband and wife can't work together, but we weren't working together. So no. How about organizational behavior rules such as the 11th rule of organizations? We all know the 10 commandments. The 11th commandment in organizations is, thou shalt not embarrass the organization, right? Besmirch the organization, give the organization a bad reputation. As soon as a newspaper hears that a city employee is dating a company man and the company man has business in front of the city, boom, it makes every newspaper in the state, right, in the country. Oh, corruption again in blah, blah, blahville, right? So one of the organizational rules is to not embarrass the organization, and anything that suggests the possibility of corruption is embarrassing. So one of the organizational rules is going to be, don't risk the organization's reputation, and dating somebody that you're supposed to be investigating has all the signs of embarrassing the organization. So that would be one of them. Don't embarrass the organization. You've studied organizational behavior, right? Have you ever heard the 11th rule of organizations? No. I didn't just make it up, but it's not in any book that I know of. You'll hear it in lecture sometimes. Some people will have it as the 12th or the 13th, but for today's class, it's convenient to call it the 11th commandment. Thou shalt not embarrass the organization. Because the organization will fire you under one pretext or another, right? They'll get rid of you. Anything else? Okay, under law and under many organizations, and I think this is kind of along the lines of what maybe you were trying to lead to, is in law, it's called the mere appearance of, no. What's that word anymore? Let's just say the mere inference, in this case, the mere inference of impropriety. If anybody could think that maybe there's something funny going on, something not proper, that's already wrong. That's already an ethical violation. You should do everything in your power to avoid even the hint that there might be something going on wrong. That's kind of underneath that, the 11th commandment. But in law, there's actually a directed rule that's to, I don't know, it's been so long since I've studied this, but something along the lines of the appearance, the mere appearance of impropriety. If people can suggest or hint or feel like there might be something wrong, you've already done something wrong. You should be so clean, so above board. Now, almost no lawyer manages to follow that rule, but that's the rule. Okay, so that's just a kind of a simple scenario. What could be? That's my presentation. Now, we have two students here with each a presentation. We need to go back. So you've got, each of you's got one. Who's first? Who's first? Can you come up here so that she can see you? Do you need your computer? Just bring it up. But we can work with this, right? Your social cause first. Yeah. Hold on a second. The mouse every once in a while gets weirdy. Oh, come on. What the? Did I? Yeah. Yeah, but I want that off. How do I undo it? All right, just click on something. I told you, it's one of those days. Okay.
Okay, so my case is social cause versus state affairs. And this is a real life situation happened in my country and still happening in my country. So you will see a name, Imran Khan or Mr. Khan. He was the prime minister of my country before 2 weeks, and he was voted out a week earlier from his office. And Mr. Khan is a cricketer turned politician, and who began his international cricket career at the age of 18 and retired in 1992 after winning the World Cup in cricket. Later, he started his struggle to build Pakistan's first state-of-the-art cancer hospital named after his mother, Mrs. Shaukat Khanum, who succumbed to cancer in 1985. And the public donations entirely financed the project. Later, Mr. Khan founded 2 more cancer hospitals in different cities in Pakistan, and all these hospitals are run through fundraising arranged by Mr. Khan himself.
At this point in his life, was Mr. Khan wealthy?
No.
Okay, so he used his fame.
He used his fame for the fundraising purposes. Yes. So later,
to fulfill his political ambitions, Mr. Khan later joined politics and founded his political party. He showcased his cancer hospital for political gains. At last, he came into power in 2018 and became the Prime Minister of Pakistan. In the Prime Minister House or in the Prime Minister office, Mr. Khan kept organizing fundraising campaigns for Shaukat Khanum Memorial Cancer Hospital. And he's still the chairman of its board of governors. The hospital's website and advertisements seeking donations display his picture and messages, which is apparent conflict of interest now that he is a public office holder. As it is clearly mentioned in Article 91, Section 5 of the Constitution of Pakistan related to the oath of the Prime Minister, I will not allow my personal interest to influence my official conduct or my official decisions. Nevertheless, it is common for influential people to use donations to enter the power corridors for personal gains. Later, Mr. Khan appointed many of his donors and members of the hospital board of governors to key advisory roles in the government. Until today, it's 189,000 and something have been treated in the hospital, and 75% of the patient received financial support became possible through donations. This became possible because people trusted and believed in him, and any halt in fundraising campaigns may result in the suffering of hundreds of cancer patients. On the other hand, Mr. Khan government did not build a single cancer hospital despite the ample state resources. So is this a case of conflict of interests? There's a few questions related to this case. First is organizing fundraising campaigns while he is a public office holder, organizing fundraising campaigns for his private organization while he is the public office holder, knowing that he used this project for the personal gains when the election comes. To come into power. Okay. To come into power, because like if you'll see, yeah. Yeah. And as clearly mentioned in the Constitution, that the personal interest should not influence the official decision making, and it's like the influential people, when they come close to the Prime Minister, they use their donations. When they want to enter into power corridors, they use his donations. They give big money for the donation, and they like become close to the Prime Minister. And it happened, and later he appointed many of his donors in the key advisory roles in the government.
Is there any found formal clear case of corruption? Has anybody bought a benefit where you could say, gave this money, you got this? But it doesn't mean yes or no is important. It's one of the factual questions.
It's not about corruption, that people don't come into power, not only corruption, people come into power just to become more influential. So like if like more like not only corruption, like just to enjoy the power, just to enjoy the power.
I don't consider corruption to be only about money.
Money.
Not only
They can get,
yes.
yes.
Pay for power just because you enjoy the power. A lot of people call that corruption. It's not just money. Okay.
Yes.
But at this point, it's all influence and innuendo. How many people gave money to the hospital never got into the corridors of power.
Mm.
We probably can't know.
We cannot.
Well, we can't know how many didn't.
Mm.
That'll be hard.
But some of them, they made it.
Yeah, but we do know that some did.
Yeah.
So if we go back to my first statement about the 11 commandments,
Mm.
don't embarrass the organization, no inference of wrongdoing. There is an inference that people pay for connection to power.
Connection to power.
There's an inference.
Yes. And the lots of people are getting benefit from these cancer hospitals. And because he enjoy the status of some kind of celebrity and he uses fame for the fundraising, and any halt in the fundraising campaigns gonna suffer hundreds of people who are getting these benefits from the cancer hospital. So he is in the he is a public office holder, but still he has to do the fundraising campaigns. But the other thing is, he kept focus while being in the public office. He kept focus to like only to his cancer hospitals. The state, his government did not build a single cancer hospital.
Did any government before him build cancer hospitals? Is he failing the government or is he following the norm?
Like his government did not
Right,
build
the
a single
government
cancer
before him
hospital.
built
Yeah.
cancer hospitals?
Yes, there were few cancer hospitals.
So I mean, that would be a question. Right?
Yes.
Is it actually changing past practice?
But like he used to say, like his cancer hospital is the state of the art cancer hospital. So the point is, his government did not build same state of the art hospital while his government has this the ample state resources. His focus was just to do fundraising for his cancer hospitals, which he built as the private entity. So there are few things which I need to clarify about this case. Though, so at the end, the case is this a case of conflict of interest?
To obtain their right to pay. House forces people to have the opportunity to pay. But it has a him being the chair and this because this in a way that owners and
Advisory. Yeah.
so weighing this two, I think we should give more the
Social cause.
social to the social right to live. However, without so we so in this way, I think there's a solution first to stop the project method, but I think that's not. And the second is one step down or give up one of these that there's corruption going on.
Like if in my opinion, if he really cares about the social cause, he as the government entity should build like as many state of the art cancer hospital, because the government has the ample resources. So if he really cares about the social cause, if he is doing all these for the social cause.
That people are donating the hospital.
Yes. Yes. but like you are getting something for yourself. You build, like the Prime Minister, the Mr. Khan. Mr. Khan like build a cancer hospital, and every single election campaign he will use the name of that cancer hospital, like I did this, so give me the votes. So while you are in the public office holder, you are just keep doing the things which could help you when you will go into the election campaign.
Don't all politicians do that in every country around the world? Look at what I did, either what I did in the private sector or what I did for you in the last 4 years. You should vote for me because I did good.
Yeah, politicians used to do, like the other politicians of my country, they used to showcase the projects which they built, but as the government entity, which was their duty to do.
Sure.
Which was they're supposed to do. You are doing this while public office holder, and people are trying to influence your decisions. People are influencing you in your decisions by giving you donations. They are getting the ministries, they are getting the portfolios.
Is that any different than the traditional political sector? Right? Today, in the newspaper, are more allegations against the Minister of Education, the proposed Minister of Education, for corruption, and the newest swing out there is, well, he only got the job because he's been Yoon's friend for 40 years. It happens in every country all the time. Allegation means nothing if there's no evidence to back it up. Show the evidence. Yeah, he's been my friend for 40 years. So what? Where's the problem? Well, you only chose him because he's your friend. Yeah, I should choose someone I hate. Come on, I gotta work with him, right? When I was CEO, I hired people who I knew. They weren't my best buddies, but they were people I knew who I had a conversation with, maybe over a beer, and said, "Can you do this? You understand that Murphy's working right, and Robert is working, be an asshole." Yeah, okay. You know, I'm gonna hold you. She said you can do it in 100 days. The new accounting system in 100 days. I'm gonna hold you. Okay, pretty good. But I'm gonna hold you to that. And sometimes it works really well. Sometimes I lost a friend. So yeah, I don't think what we're describing here is unique at all. Beyond the fact that instead of saying I'm a celebrity, you should vote for me because you like me, we see lots of that. President of Ukraine, his background before being president of Ukraine
He was comedy.
was a comedian, right? And people liked him. And Donald Trump, most of the people never heard of Donald Trump, except a few people in areas that he basically destroyed through his casino, except that he was on TV.
TV few times.
You're fired. People thought he was great, but they didn't want to church. But what? I'm the richest guy in town. I can pay for everything. You get businesses that were running under his name that people would rent hotel rooms in the Trump Hotel rather than name any other hotel in Washington D.C. simply because they figured President will know that I stayed there, our organization booked and booked there, and so he'll look fine with it. Those allegations of corruption are good. What is different though is that he continued to stay. Did he ever make any money from it? That would be a question.
It's a big question everyone wants to know in my country, because he has no other source of income. He's not doing anything. Like he has no job. He has nothing. It's a big mystery for everyone in my country, because he did a cricket commentary back in 2004, and he still claimed that, oh, I got the money in 2004 and I'm still surviving on that money. while you're living in a mansion of like 300, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. He doesn't have to file income tax.
He file income tax, like the assets are increasing every year.
You'll get a real salary, but it's less than that, you could get awards for your time. You get paid $15,000 a year to come to 2 meetings. But for a guy whose job pays him 87 million a year, 15,000 a month is like, doesn't pay for his time. Pay for his travel. So what, relative to you and me, it seems like a lot of money, but it's kind of like, I'm losing money doing it. I could make more money if I work. So that was hard. But yeah, that would be a question. Is continue direct involvement in the hospital as a public official
Public officer.
does seem.
Hmm.
But I don't know if the state has definitive practical law. Law that says you can't do it.
It's
That's
the,
personal influence. Is there one that says you cannot be engaged in the private sector while working?
I am not aware of any such law, but this is the most clear thing I found. It's the in the
So, for
Constitution.
example, in many a lot of teachers have to
Hmm.
tutoring, might be cleaning the bank after work hours, who knows? But a lot of teachers, they're paid so poorly, they can't raise it up.
Hmm.
It's allowed. I mean, there's nothing illegal. In Korea, a teacher is not allowed to have,
Hmm.
I'm not allowed to have a part-time job. Or my wife's business. But under the law, teachers, professors cannot have a second job.
Hmm.
Because if he's still serving as chairman of the board, it's some other title position other than honorary, the guy who makes the cheese. That could be a legal issue.
Hmm. Hmm. He has the biggest number of advisors in his cabinet ever. And among,
Okay?
yes, the advisors are paid from the public exchequer. So
Are they losing money by working for the government?
not at all. They're getting like, it's not about money, the privileges that get. Like you get 2 luxury cars, the security squad, the house and other things, and plus
If
the,
you're rich, you can pay. Like in the United States,
Hmm.
the president of the United States is paid now, what, $600,000 a year? Sounds like a lot.
Hmm.
Every vice president at every Fortune 500 company, we're talking about 10,000,
Hmm.
all make that.
Hmm.
We're not talking about entrepreneurs, we're talking about. So cost of living in DC is high compared to it. It's not like some countries, like, you want to live in Seoul, doesn't matter.
Hmm.
But like, nobody wants to live in the city. They want the connection. They don't want to work because the city.
Hmm.
I don't mean just the city, I mean the weather. It's just vast. It's not a place you want to be. So people honestly will tell you, they'll look you in the eye from the deepest part of their heart and say, I'm making a sacrifice. I can make a lot more money and be a lot more happy doing what I did before.
Hmm.
But they enjoy the power.
Hmm.
The reward is absolutely not that's why when we talk about people being advised in that discussion, are they going to be able to cash? After they leave government? Well, I've got these connections. I got paid $150,000 a year to work as a officer in the government in the US. Now I retire and I get paid $1 million a year working as a consultant.
Not in the monetary terms, or sometimes in the monetary terms as well, but some people use these positions as a launching pad for their next political careers. Like if they will get into some political parties, they will get like a very low level position in the political party. But if you are an advisor of a prime minister on a very key position, and you have no political background, when the government changes, if you want to switch a party, if you switch a party and you go to another party, you will get a very high position, or at least like the same party. It's the chances you will get before you were advisor in the next government, you will get a full minister status, like a status of a minister in the cabinet. So the people who are struggling, who are making their efforts to get some position in the political parties for 20 years or 30 years, but because you give like a big chunk of your donation to the prime minister, you are in his cabinet as an advisory role. In the next government, you will get the minister just straight away. You have no political career. So people used to like use these advisory roles as to get a big roles in the politics as well.
One being one being able to connect. Not doing wrongly when he continues for kids. Whether that's a lot.
And I just skipped out of mind. You said like, is there any proven things? Is there any case? A case in front of the Election Commission of Pakistan is pending from like last 7 years. He received the donations from a lot of countries, and like the allegation is he used those donations for the personal purposes to increase his wealth, as well as it's in the constitution of Pakistan, you cannot get the donation from like certain country people or from the governments or from certain NGOs. So the case is he got those donation and used those donations inappropriately. And now finally, after the 7 years, court has given directions to the Election Commission that decide this case in next 30 days. So there are few malfunctionings, there are few things in the fishy things in the donations as well.
Yeah, that's the kind of question.
Yes.
Didn't ask you to find because yeah, these things take a while.
7 years. The question is
Ethics almost never have the right answer unless there's
he should keep,
ethical rule, for example, the law on doing, like, you can't have a second job.
is he should keep doing the fundraising while he is in office as a public office holder? Yeah, it's
If it's not his money, if he can clearly say, I'm not on the board of directors, I'm not paid. Is it illegal for the president or prime minister to go on TV and say, please give money to save Ukraine? Save Ukraine. Would that be illegal?
fundraising, it depends on the purpose. Fundraising, like for example, there was a flood there was a massive flood in my country, and the prime minister or president, they used to issue some messages like give your donation for the like flood affected areas. That's the different thing. But you are doing fundraising for your
Donation to government or give your
in the government account.
That would be different because now he's speaking for the government. But if he said, please give your donations
To my cancer hospital.
No. Because it's not his hospital. Might be in his name, but it's not his because he stepped away. Something like give money to this NGO, which I am not a member of. Give money to the United Nations Save the Children. Because they're doing a really good job with flooding, blah, blah.
I am not aware of the formal rule, but I used to see the prime ministers or presidents doing this.
For private organization, non-governmental.
I'm not sure about the non-government,
Because if
the
it's
private
government, it's
organizations.
clearly okay.
Yeah,
It's clearly okay.
I think
Even
government.
though the corruption might be just as bad or worse,
Hmm,
but it's clearly okay because he's the CEO of government.
hmm.
I don't know. Oh, if he said, please give to the Catholic relief service, because he's Catholic,
Hmm.
would some Protestants and some Jewish people, yeah, they probably would.
Hmm.
But would it be considered an ethical violation? Probably not. Somebody would just say, now, Joe, be sure you mention these other organizations. That's awesome. Don't just mention the Catholic.
Hmm.
But beyond that, I don't think anybody would be upset if he were a serving officer. That would be different. That'd be like Donald Trump saying, hey, y'all come on down to Washington, D.C. this next July 4th, watch the fireworks
Hmm.
and come in and have a drink at the Trump Plaza Hotel. That's wrong. There's no doubt about that. But, so, yeah, the question is he a current serving officer and or is he getting paid by the hospitals while serving as a public officer? There's probably a rule against it. If he's not,
Yes, I mentioned it. Mrs. Still chairman of its board of governors, the hospital board of governors.
so that looks really bad. Then you have to just basically look at the law. Is he allowed to vote? And one question people would say is he getting paid or does he somehow benefit financially from his role as chairman? That would be the question.
Hmm.
Because people tend to equate money with corruption.
Hmm.
Some countries, they equate the grandeur of the nobility of the office. Some countries do. Money is always. But is ethics only law? Well, because the first rule of ethics, when we talk about moral values, and that's what you and I they always said there's the basis of is there a public ethics law? Because violating public ethics law, it's easy. That's not really an ethical crisis. But if what we're talking about doesn't violate a public ethics law, then it comes down to not illegal, still is it ethical to stand up and say support this hospital? The whole lot of people say You're embarrassing the government. Eleven. The 11th command. So in that way, I would say it looks like for him to stand up and be fundraising for organizations. But if he could claim and prove it, he didn't make any money out of it, that in fact, the hospital which founded and promotes is using that name because his name is good for the hospital. Yeah, but you're choosing to become an officer. These are some of the smartest people in society. If I'm with the party, of course I'm going to bring in experts and supporters. The diplomats that are appointed around the world, half of them in American history. Half of them are people that no background in the world. They are big donors. The other half of the diplomats, half of the ambassadors, boom, are donors. Certain number of the senior ministers are donors.
You're just distorting the level playing field of the politics because you are level, like you are encouraging the like money, the influence of money in politics. You are encouraging more the money you have, the higher the position you can get.
Tell me a country that that's not true. Except the authoritarian places like North Korea, Russia, where money doesn't, at least we don't think it does. Where does money not strongly impact your ability to? We haven't reached that plane of enlightenment. Or the village level, town hall, where all 179 residents sit around the campfire or inside. Okay, we're gonna vote on. Well, you know, I'm the oldest man in town. Sit down, shut up. Well, you know, I own the biggest bank in town. Sit down, shut up. So you're talking about appearances. And appearances are important. But we haven't shown that somebody has done something wrong. Other than the fact that perhaps, I'll even go so far as to say, it's probably improper for the president to stand up and fundraise for an organization that he has traditional benefits. While I would say that. But maybe not a written law. Maybe. Begin your turn. Who's Lynn? Where did that name come from?
This is not a real place. It's not good.
I know this. The name came from somewhere. Kipton City, okay. Kipton City is where there is a lot of traditional.
Yeah. Well, this is not a real place, but it usually is a common practice by many of people in public service.
Especially in public. Public works is where all.
So Lynn works for the Department of Public Works and Highways in the Philippines, and usually they are concerned with road construction, bridge construction. So Lynn was assigned to do a road construction project, and she was assigned to be the project manager in the bidding and awards committee. Because in the Philippines, most of infrastructure projects are gained through bidding. So contracts are gained after bidding. So she had a task to do a pre-construction survey to survey the site, and she will have to verify the actual field condition, then select a proper contractor for the project. So in the bidding process, yeah, Lynn must choose a contractor with a detailed engineering plan aligned with the results of the pre-construction survey. So the plan is to achieve greater efficiency of the implementation of the project. So after the bidding and selection process, she will need to coordinate with her higher ups, the district engineer and the regional director, and get their approval before the construction takes place. So during the bidding, Lynn and her team were able to narrow down the highest bidders. Of course, there's a winner in this bidding. However, the district engineer and regional director did not approve the bidders, but instead recommended a certain contractor not included on the top list of bidders. So you could say, how could that happen? If there's a bidding,
Welcome to the Philippines.
of course, there's already a winner. Why would you disapprove that? So some of the officials, or yeah, some of the public officials could, what do you call that? They could deceive the public by showing favorable statistics or wrongly interpreted data to demonstrate what they want to show. So that is what they did in this case. So the said contractor, in reality, the said contractor not only had incomplete documents, but also presented a high cost of labor and materials. And it turns out that the district engineer and regional director already had numerous projects with the said contractor, and they argued that the said contractor is a trusted contractor. However, there's this formal rule according to RA number 9184, the procuring committee, in this case, Lynn's team, the bidding and tax committee, they shall observe the highest standard of ethics during the procurement and execution of contract. They or though through an agent shall not engage in corrupt, fraudulent, collusive, coercive, and obstructive practices during the implementation of the project. But in this case, Lynn was not the one doing such act, but her superiors. However, there's this informal rule in the Philippines called the SUKI system, or preferred supplier-buyer relations, where entrusted relationships built through numerous interactions are deemed more reliable. Moreover, bypassing or neglecting your superiors is also frowned upon and considered an informal reorganization. So what should we do? So in this case, it is the dilemma of your duty to obey your supervisor versus doing your duty to serve the common good. And
Let's ask a couple of questions there. What is Lynn's authority? Can she award a contract?
no, she needs the approval of the superior.
Right. So whose ethical judgment?
First, because she
She can only present to her bosses. It's up to them to approve or disapprove. So is her job done?
I think the dilemma is, should she obey her superior or should she
If she doesn't obey, what does she do?
trigger the extreme is to write a letter to a formal report against her superior. Is there?
See, look, there are several choices, but this is where I say, where's the ethical dilemma? Ethical dilemma, if she has the power to make the final decision, the dilemma is hers to award the contract to one of the top three or the boss's choice. That would be her dilemma. But she doesn't have the power. So all four of those options are wrong. She only has one ethical dilemma. That is, shut up or report. That's it. Shut up is the easy way, but she may feel like she has failed.
extreme case. So what if?
No,
we
it's a
say-
perfect case. It happens all the time in US too.
So what if we say that she has the power?
If she has the power to award the case, to award, stand up and say, the bid is to you, then that's her ethical dilemma. If I give the bid and I upset my bosses, then maybe I'll never be assigned a team leader again. Maybe I'll go find them and fire me. That would be her. If I do what I believe is the right thing, I will pay personal. Do I love my job better? Is this particular bid worth it? Shouldn't I just relax and let it? By the way, that's a whole different. Not weird, just the way you presented it is kind of, let's say it's kind of backward. Because baked in the system legally. In many countries, but it's done a little bit differently. That's why I said it's wrong. So if she has the power to make a choice, her choice is very easy. Award the contract the way she believes. And suffer the consequence, or follow her boss. And that's the ethical. But if she doesn't have the authority to make the decision, if only her boss can make that decision, then her ethical dilemma is court or not. Her ethical dilemma to report is when I have a duty to the public, this organization, to the public meaning this happened. Or maybe even have a duty to the companies that put in all this work to submit a responsible bid with the belief that the system was fair enough that they had a chance. They maybe spent $5,000, $10,000 worth of labor and time to put together this bid that is perfect because they never have. So if I report, then the question is who do I report? Most dangerous, most powerful. That happened in San Diego. Plan of not really the county, it's a special government district that puts together big county plan every year. I mean, we're talking tens of millions of dollars going through this organization every year. Complain because they said you're changing. And people complain because you rigged it so that we can't win. And then they win, then they sue, and two senior stood up and said, yes, my boss told me to. That company, her company, won because we changed. Make it look like,
What's the statute of the?
yeah, visible. Many people will tell you it is not visible. That it is your professional responsibility to not allow cheating, not allow corruption. If they're choosing this company, why? Oh, because they're good. Yeah, and you're retiring next year, and what do you get? Oh, they've already offered you a job as the senior vice president on the day after you retire. Oh. So many companies do this. 300 have to leave a senior government position. So 3 years or 1 year. It's routine. So yeah, whistleblowing is the right word. I will avoid the word. So yeah, that becomes it. The whistleblowing. Is it a judge? Is it your boss's boss's boss? In any of these cases, you face that's the in the thoughts before I talk about I don't think so. She has really options to do
if she will send these 3 names, she got 2 bidding, the higher ups will disapprove those names because they have already a bidder in their mind. It's more a thing to ethical crisis for the higher ups. Yeah, like they are avoiding a certain process and they are ready to give the contract for their future.
I wouldn't call it ethical crisis in their piece because there's no crisis in their mind. They're doing what they
Unethical.
believe, right? It's just flat out. Probably, because as she points out, it is a normal system. Not only in many, many countries. It's called preferred bidder system.
No, I also try to answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like I have 3 ways like to say what is the right thing to do. And I think first is the knowledge we have of knowledge of the act, her knowledge of the act. She knows that doing so or approving her supervisor's recommendation is not a good option. She knows that corruption is bad. It doesn't have a good purpose. Second is her, like you said, free will. She's like constrained. Like what power does she have? And lastly, her conscience. What would her conscience tell her? At the end of the day, your conscience will tell you did the right or wrong thing. So I think she should report or whistleblow. Yeah. How I try to put it.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. That's good. I'm glad you brought that up. Because you won't hear it in another class. I'm gonna pick up this mic. So we're talking about preferred bidder system. And I'm just going to close all this. This camera. Board, which I'm not sure how well it's going to work. And okay, that's just so that I can write on the board. This is done here. Talk. Oh, if there's no chalk, then I don't need to worry about the board. Have you ever written with something this small, Wakas? When they're ready to catch? Catch. Oh, okay. That's not very useful, is it? Smaller than a fingernail. I can't write with that. Yeah, those are small. Okay, preferred bidder or bid system. Oh, okay. Do that way. All right. 3, 2, 1. Stop. Okay, preferred bid system or preferred bidder system. Basically, there's 2 ways to do this. One is pre-screening and the other is post bid. I guess you could call it. I don't remember the proper word for that. Pre-screen and post bid. And it's often called under the name of qualified bids. In other words, you have to show that you're eligible to bid. And in a pre-screening system, it's really good because it means that companies won't waste their time applying for a putting all the bid together, which could be very comprehensive. If you're doing a construction project, it could involve $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 worth of work to prepare a bid, and then be told, oh, you're not qualified because this project is reserved for minority owned companies. You have to be at least 20% minority ownership or else you can't bid. We have this rule in America. In many cities, they have these certain projects are identified as minority bid because we want to make sure that minority organizations have the chance to develop. So not every project is that way, but some of them, especially smaller and maybe middle-sized projects. City needs a new parking lot, near City Hall, and it's going to be as big as this building, and it's 3 stories of concrete. That's our rough design. That's what we want. We want 500 parking spaces, and this one is reserved for minority bid. So that gives those companies a chance. So if you don't qualify, there's no reason to do the work. Right? It's a pre-screening. It's pretty easy. Post-bid is when we look at these bids and we say, okay, we've done a bid process to say the technical aspect, the engineering or whatever it is, looks fine. And the financial part looks fine. And we got 3 good bids. Lynn got 3 good bids in her project in the Philippines. How do you choose? Is it always going to be the best financial wins? Maybe not. There could be political factors. That one's ugly, but it comes up. There could be like certain bonus points because you promised to hire union workers, pay union wages where somebody else was going to pay for cheaper laborers. But you won't be able to see the difference in the metal work, will you? Yeah, but we're trying to support higher wages for workers, right? Something. Or it's a local company versus San Diego, California, for example. People really want to hire San Diego company firms. They don't want, that LA company coming down and scooping up all the best. It'd be like Daegu people saying, why do those Seoul companies keep coming down and getting the best jobs, building the new stadium or the new theater in Daegu? Why aren't we hiring Daegu company? So there can be a local favoritism. That probably doesn't appear in the pre-screening. Very rarely would you say, we only want local companies. But when you get down to the final 3, it'd be pretty easy. The problem that Lynn pointed out was it was a 4th company that didn't seem to qualify. We don't know if it was number 4 or number 14, or was like, you don't even pass the basic cut line, you're just out. But many cities have a certain pool of people who have worked with us in the past, and they don't need to do all that. We've already kind of like approved them for routine and not quite routine, but not really peculiar. If you're going to build a new basketball arena, well, no, you've been building, parking lots for us for years, but no, sports arena is a little different. But we have these kind of like pre-approved in the pool kind of contractors. And so we may not go through either of these, pre-screening or post-bid. We just kind of say like, well, they're qualified. As long as they give us something that kind of looks right, we know them, we trust them, we've worked with them in the past, we've had good experiences, we'll take them. So that's how that, what was the term you used? Suki system, a preferred contractor system often works. Another aspect is for smaller jobs, the city may say, this is not that system exactly, but for smaller jobs, the city may say, we do this kind of work routinely. It's just too expensive for the contractor and it's too expensive for us to do fresh bidding every time. If you have won a contract with us in the past 3 years, for something that fits in this general parameters like road construction, building normal, standard, not really unusual bridges. Bridges not more than, 100 meters long, let's say, for example, crossing a span that's not more than 20 meters tall or whatever. You don't need to do all that. And we might just say, okay, you've won in a pass. These are pretty random. We'll throw these 12 names in here in the pool and this time, Elephant Enterprises is the winner. And we just do it that way. So that kind of preferred bidder system is not really unusual. But the problem arises, what you suggested but didn't say, was that maybe those higher ups are profiting from this arrangement. And that will always, again, follow the money. Does it appear that somebody's getting paid something either now, or there's an inference of, well, I'll take care of you while I'm in office, and then after I retire, you'll take care of me, or ABC company has seats at all the ball games. And it's pretty common to find department head at a ball game with ABC company. Well, they gave me free tickets. I went. Why not? Right? They bought the beer. It's no big deal. It's not a cost to them. They do it all the time. The seats are there anyway. They'll be empty. So we have this kind of a preferred bidding system that can look really ugly, but might not be actually unethical. The key point becomes if it is part of the city normal system. If they write it up and the city council approves it, it's legal. But when it's just the boss pulling it out of his back pocket and saying, those companies are probably okay, but listen, Paul over at Knight Construction, he's done work for us for years, and I know he'll take care of it. We don't have to worry about him. And it's not a new company. They do work for us all the time. Just give the job to Knight. Don't worry about it. Now Lynn's got a problem. Do you know, in your imagination, how long Lynn has been doing this job? Has she, if she's been in the department but not been in contracting, she might not ever, this might be her first time of seeing things aren't exactly what they taught her in her PA program at school. Yeah, see, then she'd be really shocked. But somebody who's been there for a few years would say, yeah, Knight Construction's been getting jobs with us for years, and we never have to worry too much. And, maybe we don't know as much about them as we maybe should have to, but do you really want to have to go out to the job site every other day and walk around in the mud for an hour to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing? Knight's been working with us for 10 years and nothing's fallen down. Must be not too bad. So yeah, there is this preferred bidder system. And there's the structural system of pre-bid system, qualifying bid, right? You have to meet the qualifications. And then after you've qualified for a few, you may go into a pool where you don't have to do that anymore. Or the post-bid system of, we've got all these bids and they're comparable. I'm going to show you something online if I can, and it will help explain it if I can find it. Okay, so we're going to take a look at preferred bidder system in a secondary way. Yeah, close. This building that you see in the backdrop is the existing San Diego Sports Arena. It's an indoor arena. It seats about 10,000 people for ice hockey and about 13,000 for basketball. And it opened in 1967, and it had an NBA team, and it had and still has a hockey team, and usually around 50 to 60 concerts a year. And on Saturday and Sunday, if there aren't events, this big parking lot is used as a kind of a swap meet. To use the word swap meet, open market. All right, not for fish, but for people who want to sell stuff. Anyway, that was 1967, and it's not quite falling down, but it's nowhere near state of the art. It's considered by some people small. They say if you want to get the NBA back, you have to be able to seat at least 18,000 people with high-class luxury boxes, and it's not going to happen. San Diego lost its basketball team because somebody else wanted a bigger market, and it never came back. Anyway, so this and the parking lot and some areas around it have been very, very underutilized for the past 30 years. They want to knock it all down and build lots of apartments, especially some of them have to be lower than middle income type of apartments. And they went out to bid, and they got bids, and then the state government voided that. They said, you didn't do the process correctly because this is considered surplus city property. And if you want to sell it to the private sector, you have to do X, Y, Z steps. And you skipped a couple. So they had selected a final bidder, and they were getting down to writing the final contract when they had to start over. So they started over, and they had 8 or 9 different groups that wanted to do it, but finally they got down to 5 groups that submitted a bid that qualified. There were a number of qualifications. One was the quality of the design in general, the quality of the organization building the design, that they had a history of doing work like this before, that they had contacts with the local community. So they got 5 that officially met the minimum qualifications in every category, officially met. But then the city staff were like, okay, we got 5 bids. We never expected 5. It's going to take us 2 years to confirm all the details and to be able to present to city council a recommendation for number 1, number 2, number 3. So the mayor said, look, this is just impossible. We can't do this. We need to cut 2 bids. We want to cut the 2 that are apparently on the surface the weakest bids. That way city staff only have to investigate deeply 3, and that will make things done in, let's call it a year, something like that. I'm vastly simplifying. All right. So as it says, the mayor was ready to cease talks with 2 of the 5 teams competing to lease and remake the city's 48-acre sports arena area. Lease, I think it's a 99-year lease or something like that. Anyway, they want to end negotiations with Neighborhood Next and Discover Midway in favor of advancing discussions with Midway Rising, Hometown SD, and Midway Village Plus. Now, you can see from all those Midway names that the name of the district where the sports arena is called the Midway District. It's the traditional name for that part of town. It's actually very close to the airport. It's very close to the harbor. It's very close to the freeway. It is a place that they think should be an economic magnet, not an industrial place, but a place that would make people want to come and spend money. But because of the fact that it's considered officially government surplus land, they have to make at least a certain percentage of the entire construction site lower income housing. That's a California law that passed just before the first process started and the city hadn't quite figured it out, which is why they screwed things up. It wasn't really the city's fault. Nobody had really understood the new rules. So the city staff recommendation to cut two is based on how teams plan to incorporate affordable housing into the site and the viability of their arena proposals. So we got two parts. One is housing and the other is the arena. Now, the third part of all of these proposals is commercial. They want to build destination shopping, let's call it that way, right? There can be a Nike store in 18 different places across the city, but I want to go to this one because along with Nike, there's all these other exciting things I can see and do. There's a movie theater, there's movie theaters in lots of places, right? But there's some kind of connection. There's so many things happening in one place that makes this the place to go. So they point out, we were pleased to receive 5 world-class responses. We didn't, any junk that we might have gotten, that got filtered out a long time ago. We're really talking about this idea of, we had a number of good bids. Instead of choosing somebody else that's, not even in the package, not Lynn's problem. But in this case, it's like, but we're going to screen some out outside the official process. Instead of following the official process for all 5, we're going to remove 2 early. And that's not part of the process. Okay, and then she says, after a 90-day good faith negotiation with all 5 teams, we need to focus our efforts on the teams that we see as being best potential partners. So there's a filtering going on that's not technically not legal. And we could imagine that if some team is filtered out and they don't think that it's correct, they could go to court. And this newspaper article is from April 12, which is last week. So they're planning to officially violate their own plan for selection, which is why they need to take it to the city council, because no staff person wants to take a chance on getting fired because the city's getting sued. Okay, so under the new law, San Diego must give preference to the team proposing the highest number of affordable residences at the deepest level of affordability. So there's 2 factors there. This has nothing to do with whether or not we think the project is the best project. We have a law that's requiring us to make a different choice. There's 2 factors. Highest number of residences. So 500 is more than 400. But the second factor is at the deepest level of affordability. Now, I was shocked when I read this and an earlier article that gave the same fact that talked about the median income for a family of 4 in San Diego is $95,000. Okay, mean, median, mode, right? Median, smack dab in the middle. That means 50% of society is getting paid more than $95,000 a year, and 50% is getting paid less. $95,000 a year is a heck of a lot of money. It's why I don't think I'm going to retire in San Diego. Because I personally don't get paid that much. My wife and I together, yeah, we make more than that. But I know my brother and my other brother, who both live in San Diego, one's wife is working, one's not married. They don't make that. And they're doing okay. They have a house, but could they buy a house today? They bought a house 20 years ago. Each of them bought a house. But I don't think they could buy a house today. Median income. So if we make 500 houses at a price that is, let's say, 10% below what we would expect for median income. Okay, catering to a family that makes 85. million, 85,000. But somebody else makes 350 apartments that cater to families that make only 80,000. Which one is more important, the number of apartments or the number of cheaper apartments? The fact that they're cheaper, 350, but they're considerably cheaper. They're catering to a less served part of the community. So that's already a challenge. The law doesn't clarify how to balance these things. It just says that it's surplus land, so you have to cater to the lower income. That is an impressive picture. That is one of the proposed plans. Now, to give you a sense of scale, this white line here is an expressway, and this over here is a huge, it's a city park, but if you want to go from this side of this water to this side of this water, if you're swimming and there's no activity, it would take you 7 or 10 minutes. I would say that's probably 100 meters across, that little black line. That black area is probably 100 meters across. That park is huge. It's one of the biggest parks in the US. And it's almost all sand, except if you go a little bit out of this picture, you'll find SeaWorld, which is a big amusement park. Anyway, I'm guessing that this is supposed to be a sports arena. And these are apartments. And this would be a shopping district, but you got like this esplanade where you can walk through. It's kind of parky feel. This is a hotel. That's one of the 5 designs. So, you know, when they're doing these, they want to make really fantastic architectural designs. But that doesn't really tell you what the quality of life is going to be there. But here's the 5, and this is all we're going to do. When we look at this, the housing question, how many below 80%, 51? They want to cut these 2 out. They say they're the lowest qualifying. Oh, I thought it was me. It's the automatic, it's the automatic advertising. Anyway, they want to cut the 2 out because they performed the lowest on this one measure, which is the housing. But we've already said they all 5 qualify. But these 2, it's the easiest to say, well, they're probably the lowest qualification. Number of units below the 80% mark, 2017, 16, 16,000. Okay, that one's clearly lower, right? 1,000. But no, 51 to 80%, 200, 670, 459, 750. So in what would be considered a very important factor, these are quite good, but we're going to throw them out. Very low income. People who are real close to poor. That one's kind of low. That's a good number. But these, you know, this is better. This is better. This is not much different. So when we're looking at these, you kind of go like, are we cherry picking our data? Are we selecting the data that makes us feel like we can make this choice? Now, I have nothing with any of these companies. I don't know any of these companies. And one of the companies, I have a sense from what they're talking about that they're probably not qualified. So here's the official language. Discover Midway, which is the lowest rank, is not being recommended for the city shortlist based on its affordable housing proposal. Well, we said, yeah, they're low. They're low here. They're slightly high here. They're low here by a lot. They're low here by a lot. And almost everybody's low here. So Discover Midway is being ruled out because housing. Okay, I think a lot of people would agree with number 5 is out. Neighborhood Next did not demonstrate an ability to deliver an arena. What does that mean? It means that the other 4 companies They're actually not individual companies. These are teams of various companies. The other 4 companies or teams all have, as part of its team, an architectural firm that was involved in building a stadium, an indoor stadium in some other city. Maybe as a head contractor, maybe as a secondary, but they were involved in developing. And this one didn't have anybody who had a background in developing an arena. And because it's an arena property, the city wants an arena there. That's one of the key points. They said, okay, so you're out. So certain other indicators, though, are that Neighborhood Next is in some ways the most local friendly, that it has the most connections to the community. So my feeling is that when this goes to council, this one's going to be hard to kill. They employ a lot of locals. I don't mean as construction workers, I mean as designers and engineers and lawyers. This one's going to be hard to kill. This one probably going to get killed because housing is a state mandated issue. It's easy to say, well, we don't have a choice. There is a 4th factor here, average affordability level. So that's how they ranked this. They took all these numbers and they jumbled them somehow, and who knows whose statistics are used for what, but they came up and said, well, this is the least efficient. And they're the second least efficient, but they're not being ruled out because of housing. They're being ruled out because of. So in a way, this is, again, a kind of a preferred bidder system, just not to the extreme that you pointed out. All right, that's that. Now, later this week, let me stop this because it takes time to finish up.